Devico, I just put a couple of slides together from the material we did at PDT, and again, this is not material I can generally distribute unless we do a little bit of cleanup, which wouldn't take much work, but it's just to give you an idea. When we did that project, I did some interviews with the senior exec, and I just recorded their goals, what they wanted from their business and the abilities they want from business. I just wrote those down, and we summarised them into one PowerPoint, which stayed on the project file. In fact, it stayed on the web for life of the project, or for the implementation size at least. And in that, the left-hand side just shows us those goals and a little bit about how the project evolved and how we're doing it, who's doing it. And then from there, we went into another stage of just saying, well, okay, I'll give you the benefits we're expecting. So there's 6 or 7 there, benefits that we went through. And they actually link back to the individual objectives. I mean, they're not obvious in this screen, but the work that was done to get to these 2 pages was done that way. Now, that's just getting objectives started, and that's probably a business case. Now, when it comes to kick-off meeting, I'll just drag this one out, and again, it's got PDT Exploration Public Company all over it, so we can't use it unless we clean it up. But we've got to do our own anyway, that's the point. So I just put down some thoughts what a kick-off meeting is, and heaven forbid we go through this, but people can read it, and there's some new ideas there. So what is it? You know, it starts the project, what's the format, what's the objective, etc. And then the agenda. What are we doing? What's the business case, which I just went through? What are the scope and constraints, etc. So we run through that. Who's the team? You can go this on paper when you look through it separately. The business case, which I went through. A bit about what's in and what's out. What are we doing? What's the target, the scope, and what are the constraints? What's out, and how are we going to manage that? And then some, if you like, a position statement about where we are was useful. And this particular slide, I've used it many times, just keep changing it, but was written in the oil and gas world originally, and so in this particular case I used it again for PTT. But the key thing is really being able to focus on many things while focus on the important stuff as well. So that's our message. And then, you know, talking about getting derailed, so we can keep the focus of the performance in one place, and we get the message over. A bit about the process, not that important, it's a bit boring. Useful, this one, because I think this is David's concept where we join the dots and we say, well, there's a relationship between expenditure and certain classes of outcomes from that activity, which then leads to another input, which goes to, in the end, the sales or profit performance, and in fact the company growth. Okay, so we might just look at that and say, in this case, let's translate to Behringer. There'd be sales and I guess sales and distribution. This would be the expenditure, which might be gross, and cost of distribution, etc., and administration, and then the future cost of delivering the future benefits of capital. Okay, we talked a little bit about it. Then a bit of how it will look. Now, some of this, I hope we can deliver a much fancier or better looking outcome than what's usually fairly boring financial statements. It's really static. So we want to get some benefit from this so people can use the result. So we'll give some ideas about what it might look like. Dashboards and things like that, I just think they're all combinations of different ways of presenting things. So we can just present this, and so we'll look at some dashboard for planning and for budgeting as well, and so on. So we can run through them. Split screen, having the ability to be able to do some analysis by just picking another line here, double clicking on that, and the graph changes. So in this case, I think I looked at, this is Unicel in Indonesia. I looked at this is their example, but their particular thing was, well, let's look at the number of employees against revenue, so it's trending for. And you can see it's joined up here. So we're getting employees going down and revenue sort of going up, okay, for whatever reason. And while you're on the slide, you can see sort of things like export this to Excel, get a few ideas about what their menu looked like, how they approach their conversations. Okay, approval, this is other people's, it just mixes. There's approval process, how you look at things, drill down who's in, who's out, and the results of alerts. When an alert comes off on a screen, you get a little message that says there's $1 million in, where is this, Miami, for their total operating expenses, they're way over product on all products. Go and drill, click on here and go and drill, find out what it is. Or you get there and you find it's Philadelphia's got a problem, and you look at the detail and you can see the red and the traffic lights. Bid on exchange rates, ad hoc analysis, the same sort of thing. People can drag and drop, move things around. and so on. So I think a little bit on that, then looking at the core value we're looking for. We can write something on the approach, implementation approach, going through the stages. Ours is a little bit different because we've got a existing platform, so we're doing a design prototype or a design pilot, which will basically build the system, and then we can push it out, and then the next phase will be going out and tidying up all the pieces that make it all work. Okay, that's the logic. Then a bit of the timetable and deliverables is going to do through the phasing of the project. I think we can leave some of these out, they're a bit busy. And then deliverable activity and so on. So I think the build activity might be useful to put it on the screen. It's a bit of detail, but it's sometimes useful to go back and look again for future. What the rollout looks like, the testing work, and we can talk a little bit about this because we want to get the message over. We want a very solid UAT that says it's done and it's agreed. So our UAT is going to be basically probably testing the screens and getting some forecasting in, perhaps, although we haven't put that in scope, but it'll be looking at the current budget and saying, can we change it? Okay, the team, put them in, when we're going to do it, and the communication approach. Typically, it's Lassiter's balls, everybody talks to everybody. If there's a problem, you go up the chain. Okay, you've already mentioned this, we're having a meeting on it, so we talk about what's got to be, and this was the style of this particular manager, and critical success factors, what we're looking for in the project. So that's sort of, that's probably it. Okay, yeah, have fun. The original slides are in the zip.